In this lesson, Cathedral, Brasília Part 3, we're creating a number of photorealistic images of the assembly we have modelled earlier using scene backgrounds and lighting to improve the rendered image. In SolidWorks, this was our completed assembly from Part 2, and we are going to edit the appearance. So if we right click on the roof and select the Appearance command, we can give appearances to the assembly, face, revolve, body, or the part itself. We are going to give the appearance to the part, and we are going to look for porcelain as an appearance. Once we have given the porcelain appearance to the roof, we can right click and copy that appearance and paste it to the frame. And we can decide whether we want it on the face of the frame, the circular pattern, body, the frame, or the assembly. So again, we're going to choose the part to apply it to. Once we have that done, we can save, and the appearances are applied at part level. You can see we have a number of sketches here that are still visible. If we want to hide those for the purposes of the rendered images, we can look down through our design tree for them. And you can see on the frame there's sketch 1, which we can hide, and there's also a sketch 3 there, which we can hide also. Next, we want to apply some of the render tools to the object. So if we do not have the render tools tab here, you right click on any of the tabs and just make sure that it's ticked. For example, if I untick it, it is gone. Right click on any of the tabs, click it to bring it in again. The Photo View 360 toolbars will not show unless you have added them in. Again, to add them in, you just go to Options, Add-ins, and you ensure that the Photo View 360 is ticked as an add-in and also at Startup, and you click OK. You only need to do that once on a machine, and it will remember it for the next time. We are going to go then to a perspective mode, which gives a more realistic appearance, and isometric. And we're going to do a basic photo view render. So we're going to go to Render Tools, Final Render, and Photo View 360 will start to render our view that we've created with just the appearances applied. Once it is complete, we can save the image, and we can browse to our folder that we created earlier, and we can save it as Cathedral 1. If we exit out of Photo View 360, we can see that it is a basic image. It has the appearances applied, but we will try to improve it by adding backgrounds and so on as we move on. What we are going to do next is we're going to edit the scene background to improve the rendered images. On the tabs above the design tree, you can see there's a tab called Display Manager. If we click on that, we have Appearances, Decals, and Scene, Lights and Cameras. In the appearances, we have a history of the appearances that has been applied. As you can see, if I open them, it tells me that the frame and the roof have been given the porcelain appearance. In the decal tab, there is no decals because we have none applied in this case. And on the last one, we have view scene, lights and cameras. In the scene, we can right click to edit the scene. What we're going to do is browse for an image to put as a background. So we can browse to a folder that we have created earlier on, and we should have downloaded an image called Cathedral de Brasília 01. If we open up that, you can see it comes in as our background. We are not going to stretch it. As you can see, it distorts the image, but it can be possible in some cases. What we're going to do next is accept that and try and manipulate the image so that it looks as if it's on the water beside the cathedral. We can roll the mouse button and right click and pan to move it into position. So if we zoom in and out, we can also pan to get it into the correct position to make it look as if it's sitting on the water. You can also see the reflection is underneath, which will come rendered as well. Once we have it in a position of our liking, we can ensure that perspective view is turned on for a more realistic image. And again, we can go final render and produce our rendered image of our model with the scene background. Once again, when it's complete, we can save the image. In this case, we're going to save it as Cathedral 2. And you can see this is our rendered image completed, which is looking reasonably similar to what we have shown earlier on. Lastly, we are going to edit the lights. Now, editing lighting can be tricky, but in this case we are going to use the sunlight command to try and produce some shadows on the object. In order to see this as is happening, we might need to go to an integrated preview mode. So if we click on integrated preview, what this does is it shows on the screen exactly what your rendered image is going to look like. However, it does slow down your machine and it's not for use in regular modeling. If I right click on Photo View 360 Lights and I click on Add Sunlight, I'm going to add a few pieces of information into the screen here. First of all, I have to give a north direction. So I'm going to use the front plane as my north direction. I can change it so that south is coming from the left hand side. You can see here the sun location with the compass showing south heading off here to the bottom left. I can also change the location. So for example, I can go to our nearest location here, which is London, and I can also edit the time of day. So if I edit the time of day to 1500 hours, what that does is it changes the direction of the sunlight, which also changes the shadows. What we're trying to achieve here is some realistic shadowing similar to the picture that is above. Notice if I keep changing to the evening, the sun gets further over to the west, therefore increasing the shadows. I'm going to go back to 1500 hours and you can see there is shading occurring in here, which we'll take a closer look at when we render the image. So I'm happy with those changes. You can change the date and the time to your liking, and we accept that. What we can do now is we can do a final render. And again, it's producing my final rendered image. Again, I can save that image. In this case, I'm going to save it as Cathedral 3. And I click Save. If I go to the folder, I can compare my 3 images. That was my photograph I downloaded. Here is my first rendered image, my second, and my third. And you can notice the difference between the 2 images that have the sunlight at it. The third is a lot brighter and the shadows are more defined. If we zoom in, we can see the shadows clearly on the surface there. So that completes the render tools for this lesson.